Hey coaches, I'm going to do a little spin passing breakdown. First thing I want to talk about is just passing the form before I give any drills. So some of the details of spin passing, we all know what it looks like and kind of the basics, but some of the details are tricky and are worth mentioning. So first thing, for the spin pass, holding bottom third, top third is what we want the boys to do. And this, I think we all know, but it's also often something that we miss is boys holding the ball too low instead of, if we cut the ball into thirds, I want their hands kind of right on those thirds. So down here, we don't want them down here and up here. We don't want them in the middle, which is a mistake they rarely do, but they do this a lot where they're down too low on the ball. We want them here when they hold the ball. We want them holding it there. That's what we want to go for, okay? Secondly, spin. Where exactly the spin comes from is something I've kind of spent a little bit of time thinking about. I think the primary engine for the spin is just the flick, the ball rolling off our fingers with a very light flick. So this finger flick, I'll give a drill for that in a minute. And then the second part, which is a little bit more advanced, and I probably wouldn't talk about this with younger guys as much, but a thumb, the guide hand flicking the thumb is also part of getting a nice tight spin. When my guide hand flicks through like that, I get good spin, okay? Another thing that we want is for the ball to pretty much point at our target. So if I'm passing to somebody, I should see the ball traveling in the air mostly like this. We don't want it to be up here as it's flying. We want it to be pointed kind of at their target, okay? And for the spin pass, in terms of how we hold it and in relation to our body, something that I do coach the boys on is I will say hold it on their hip with the ball at a 45-degree angle. If you can kind of see that, if I turn to 45-degree angle to have the ball, that way if I'm passing to the camera, the ball's pointed this way on my hip, but as I turn into it and my chest points my target as I'm getting my core involved, now the ball is pointed right at my target and I can throw that pass. So getting them here in this spot, hands correct in this spot as they fire the pass. In terms of the arm position, obviously the same elbows at 90 degrees and elbow out. We don't need them to kick their elbow out as much as they would in a push pass. It's more going to be in line, so it's a little bit in and more in a direct line because we want this direct motion through, but they still need to get their elbow at 90 degrees, be passing from there. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Sometimes kids will hang their wrist down and not have their wrist neutral, or they'll get their wrists under the ball too much and bend their wrists in order to get under the ball. We want to avoid that, okay? Between the support hand and the main hand, they should be able to have their hand on the side of the ball here. And if you see your kids bending their wrists like this is no good. I think those are all the main things. So once again, hands here, ball here, arm at this angle, 45 degrees so that when we turn to the pass, the ball is pointed right at our guy, and then spinning towards our guy here, flicking with the thumb if they're a little more advanced, but otherwise just rolling off their fingers. So that's a kind of breakdown of the basics of spin passing.